I just recently finished setting up the large tools in my small shop, and the problem I have now is everything left over that is taking up valuable floor space. And I have reached the point where I need to address this so I can continue moving forward. I need some wall storage, and I don't want to waste time on anything too complicated. Now, making cabinets for some folks is not complicated, but for me it is. I am not a cabinet maker, and I don't have a lot of experience with them. But some simple shop storage I think I can handle. We are going to build some very simple boxes and hang them on the wall with the French cleat. I am building these with 3/4 inch radiata pine plywood from Home Depot, and the backs will be made from 1/4 inch underlayment from the other box store. I tried not to spend too much time designing the perfect size for these. It's easy for me to get bogged down with details like that. So I sized them based on a few items I knew I wanted in them, as well as maximizing the number of parts I could cut out of one sheet of plywood. I ended up deciding on two different widths, 18 and 24 inches, with a depth of 11 3/4 of an inch. I also knew I wanted an upper and lower set on the same wall, so I decided on 30 inches tall so I could have a lower set to be added at a later time. After ripping all the sheets of plywood down to size, I used the crosscut jig I made a while back and cut all of the pieces to length. I still haven't made a crosscut sled for the table saw, so until then I just used this. Then I could get the 1/4 inch dado cut on all of them for the back panel to slide in. I try and do all of the cutting in sequential steps to save time and avoid having to reset any cutting parameters. I'm going to do a separate video on the lower set because I'm going to use a different method of installing the shelves for those. For this set I opted to use shelf pins for maximum flexibility. I drilled all the holes for these using a Kreg shelf pin jig, which can be picked up at the box stores or on Amazon. Once all the parts were cut and the holes are drilled, I can start assembly. This is where I made things really simple. I am just using a butt joint with glue and screws. I like to use a stapler for attaching the pieces first, then go back in with the countersink and screw them off. This helps hold things right where they need to be. Once 3 sides are screwed together, I can slide the back panel in and get the last part of the box attached. Now, for those of you that didn't notice, I made the mistake of installing the tops and bottoms of these wrong. It should have been sandwiched in between the sides. I know it's not proper technique, but I didn't realize my mistake until all of these were built. And rather than start over and waste all the materials, I just left them exactly the way they were. I intend on testing the weight limit of these at some point. I am really curious if it even matters. I'm sure if I was filling these with lead bricks, it might lead to failure over time, but I highly doubt this will be an issue. I square the box up by measuring from corner to corner and use a pin nailer to fasten it to the sides and the bottom. With all the boxes made, I can install the cleat on the wall as well as the back of the cabinets. I have a separate video showing how I cut and installed the cleat on the wall, so if you don't know how to do that, I will leave a link for it. On the back of the cabinet, I fill out the gap left by the dado with a piece of 1/2 inch plywood. I did it this way in case I decided to mount these permanently to the wall without the cleat. The cleats are fastened to the box with at least 5 screws. I also installed a spacer to the bottom of the cabinet. This will allow the boxes to sit plumb once hung on the wall. All that's left to do is hang these on the cleat and install the shelves. The weight combined with the angle of the cleat will keep these secure on the wall without the need to anchor them in any other way. Now, instead of using a brand new sheet of plywood for the shelves, I was able to use up a bunch of scraps from the bookshelf project, which is a blessing. It's amazing in a small shop how scrap material really starts to eat up floor space. The shelf pins I am using here are the Kreg brand pins. I get all of these as well as the shelves installed, and then I can start filling them up. I don't get too carried away at this point with organizing things. The most important thing was clearing up the floor space so I can get ready for the next project. As things evolve, all of this will eventually find its home in the most convenient spot. I hope you enjoyed the video and hopefully learned something, or were inspired to organize your space. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.